Yeah, okay. Now, with our current reality, mercy, even beyond the current reality, right from the beginning, having children, as I said before, should not just be because you have eggs and you have the body fluids and then you just have children. Having children, there are certain expectations. We should be intentional when we want to have children. We shouldn't just have children for bragging rights. Children are human beings. There are certain prerequisites, there are certain expectations. It's not just about having children. What becomes of these children? Some people have had children and the story have not ended well. Some people have had children, and at the end of the day, what do they have to show for? They've just added one more individual to the escalation in value, market value, pricing, and all of that. This is the beyond that we're speaking about. The standard of living, the quality of life. It's not just about having children who are just surviving. You have to provide. You have to bring these children up in a way that meets all-round holistic development for the child. Now, let's take a look, for example, schools. You see, I was watching the program and you were making reference to the fact that children were writing exams under very harsh conditions. They were using candle lights, torchlights, rechargeable lamps, or whatever. Some of them were in total darkness. I want to ask you a question. I don't think that this will happen in every school. I'm sure that there are private schools that will give the best, would try their best to ensure that the children write under favorable or suitable conditions. But the truth is that these schools are heavily paid for. Right? How many Nigerians can afford private schools? Nigerians, per capita income, how much of their per capita income can actually afford private education? That people should have children. Are you just going to have children and release them to harsh conditions? Are you going to have children and release them to poverty? Are you going to have children and not give them proper nourishment? Are you going to have children and not be available to them because you are outside trying to do more than one job because your salary, your take-home pay cannot provide for the child or the children that you have? We need to take this into consideration, that it is not just enough to give birth. That even in giving birth, you are not guaranteed proper health care for, to give birth to these children. And much after you've left the hospital, the work begins. You are no longer available because you have to work from morning all through to the evening, late hours. You come back and you're fatigued. So most of the parents, a good majority of the parents you see are stressed. They are unhappy. Their mental health is not stable. They are barking. They are not giving a conducive environment to their children. One of the top 10 needs of any child is quality. The top 10 needs of any child is quality, good quality life. It mustn't be exaggerated.
Spiritually, financially, mentally.
No, there's never a perfect time. Now, the reason why, I'll tell you why these parameters are in place. Now, when we say financial, there are people who have the money, right? And they can afford the hospital bills. They can afford to give these children the standard of life that the children deserve, good standard of life. But you know what? Everything material is available. But you see, one of the greatest prerequisites for childbearing or raising children is involvement in the lives of those children. So that's why you see that you may be very rich, but your children end up to become the total opposite. They end up to become something else. They end up becoming something else. You need to be available to raise the children. You see, these are the issues. So when you talk of financial stability, are you in that place to grapple mentally, to grapple with the emotions, the devotion, the dedication to raise this child? For example, some people are busy chasing the bag. You should create time between you. You should be able to create that safe haven for the child to thrive and to grow. So when you talk of survival, it's not just about surviving. It is not just about existing, but if you're to raise a child and give the child a good life, it is holistic mercy. It is not just about providing money that you can pay the school fees. You've seen people in very good schools, private schools, who have the school fees to pay, but they're into drugs. They're into all other vices. They're a menace to society, even to their own parents. Correct me if I'm wrong. So when I'm talking of all of these ramifications, I'm trying to say that it may not be perfect, but to a reasonable dimension, you should be available to see that you not just have these children well, give them the good standard of living, but you raise them. Because now, I've heard you complain several times on the show. And then on certain times you ask questions. I ask questions. I say, like, the people who have the opportunity to be in position or in power. I often ask, who raised these people? Now let's look at the world today. We're in the social media age. I didn't hear you reference what's going on Children's Day. One of our influencers, in quotes, one of the young people who has influence, joked about statutory rape.
Can you even say that's a joke? How do you
say?
Say...
And he said, statutory. This is and he came up again on television to say that for your music or your song to sell, it is you have to build controversy. This is how people are working in the society. That you could come on social media, you have the following, you have controversy. This is how people are working in the society. That this girl being taught. So when I talk of all of this, well, once you're ready to have children, it's beyond the money. You should be available to raise your children so that you can be proud, society can be proud, that if your son or your daughter becomes the president of the country, becomes the minister of education, becomes is in charge of DAM or WAEC, the rest of our children will not write under very harsh conditions. If your child is grown and he is privy to public funds, what will he do? Will he act as a responsible citizen? Will he act as a responsible adult? Do we think that dysfunctional people just emerge? Some of them, check their background. They were never raised. They were never taught. Upbringing matters. And this is beyond, this is the package when you talk of raising children. People who can function at various levels when they become adults because they were properly raised. It's time for us to begin to ask ourselves, who raised these children? Who raised these people? Are we ready to raise children beyond providing for them? So you see, it is not just the dimension of paying school fees. You must be involved. You must be holistically involved from the different life cycles of this individual till they become children. From the formative years of 0 to 9 years to the logic and analysis stage of 10 to 18 years, we must be involved.